someone has already done and is already doing what you want to do. And no, they didn't fall into a rich family to do so. They were not born lucky. You know you can be more. You can have more, do more, and be more. You know this. You wouldn't be listening otherwise.
Welcome back to another episode of Key Factors Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Jones, and we are powered by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs in the nation. And lately, we've been discussing various topics around economy, home affordability, and I wanted to dig a little deeper with somebody that understands this stuff a little bit more than I do. So I'm bringing back somebody that has been on a previous podcast that we had back in the day, Millennial Market Talk, and she was so impressive to me that I want to have her back. So without any further ado, I've got Blanca Abu joining me today. Blanca, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thank you so much for having me on again.
Absolutely. So before we dive into our topic, I want to give you some time to tell folks who you are, company, and then kind of how you got into the position that you're in, because you are still to this day crushing it, ma'am.
Still, that's good. Yeah. So, my name is Blanca Abu, and I'm the vice president at Engage PEO. We're a PEO, a national PEO that's headquartered in St. Petersburg. I can't even
That
talk.
place.
St. Petersburg, St. Pete. In Florida. So we're headquartered in Florida, and we're still a privately held PEO, which is a big difference from other PEOs that are publicly traded. I've been in the PEO space 12 years now, and I did spend some time, 7 years, so a little bit more than half of my career in a publicly traded PEO, and now I'm back in private.
Okay.
So in my role, I manage mainly Texas, which is my market that I cover, but I'm really everywhere now. I just opened up Arizona, so I've been in Arizona a couple times a month now, and just doing really well. Thank to all my clients, to my business associates, to everybody that has been sending me referrals. It's been pretty crazy lately.
And not to mention your hard work, ma'am.
Oh,
you know,
thank you.
it is tough to make it in this industry, this day and age. Especially when you're seeing so many shifts and changes, adaptation to the coming technology, forces at hand like COVID, the things that we go through right now, economy. And in your case scenario, you get to kind of take a bird's eye view to some of the topics that we're going to go over today. And I want to get your 2 cents. But before we do, if you could just give us kind of a brief synopsis of what PEO is, who benefits from it, and how they benefit from it.
Yeah, so PEO is Professional Employer Organization, and we help companies professionally employ their employees. So we're a co-employer. What that means is that the company or the business that we partner with actually offsets the risk and all of the liability of having employees to us.
Okay.
We help mainly small to medium-sized businesses. Our sweet spot, everybody can ask me that question, is right about 50 employees to about 200, 250.
Okay.
That's really what we focus on. Not to say that we can't do smaller companies or larger companies, but that's really our sweet spot area where we really see a lot of value that we can bring companies in that space. And we focus on 4 key areas. So cost efficiency is number 1. Obviously, in the economy that we're in today, cost is
It's everything.
everything. Everybody's talking about cost. Vendors are increasing cost. Companies are having to increase their costs because their vendors are increasing costs. So what are companies doing? They're really looking for ways to save money.
Mm-hmm.
And we deal with some of the highest expense areas in a company, right? We're going to deal with the payroll, that's usually number 1, their payroll. Their insurance products is usually number 2 as far as expense areas in a company. And then their compliance and HR is usually number 3, right? So their employees, their turnover and things like that. So cost efficiency is number 1. Number 2 is benefits. So
Okay.
we deal with employee benefits and really looking to make sure that the employees have the best benefits to make your company competitive. Why is an employee going to want to work at your company versus another company down the street, where right now 50 cents on the dollar or $1 more is making a big difference,
True.
right?
Yeah.
So we deal with that. We also deal with compliance and risk mitigation. So we look at a company really seeing where they're lacking on the compliance realm, and then where we can minimize their risk in different areas so that the owner is not having to face penalties, lawsuits, litigations, and they can really focus on the growth of the business. So compliance, risk mitigation, and then lastly, we just look at the overall productivity in regards to technology. I would say technology is advancing right now.
Yeah.
We can dive deep into all of these, but Texas, believe it or not, is still very antiquated when it comes to
sense.
technology. And I guess, we're in the middle, so we're kind of centrally located. So a lot of things that are trending on East and West Coast take a while to get to us. And we don't, I would say, since we're so conservative, we don't really pick up on the trends as fast as some other states do. So it's been a challenge for me. And I always tell my other counterparts that work at my company that are VPs is like, I have Texas market. You guys have like New York, New Jersey, or California or Florida, so it's a different market and business owners think differently in the state of Texas. So I always try to talk about that in the videos that I do on my pages, just because it's such a different landscape here when you deal with Texas business owners. So kind of getting them to open up their minds and getting them to know that, hey, there's a better way to do it. There's a more advanced way to do it. And technology has advanced
Yeah.
quite a bit.
So before I dive into that, that sparked a question. I just something popped in my head. What you do reminds me of a show that I used to watch back in the day. You may or may not have seen it, with Don Cheadle, called House of Cards.
haven't seen
Pretty
it.
good show. Shout out. They went like 5 seasons and then it was done, but pretty darn good show. And they were consultants. They would essentially, they would actually go into a company as consultants and look at every facet of the business and go, okay, this is where we can cut. This is where we can implement. This is where we can shift or pivot to make you guys more money, save you more money, pay your employees more, et cetera, et cetera.
Reduce costs.
And it basically sounds like a PEO in a nutshell. They were just playing with tons and tons of money, though.
Right. Well, it's funny that you say that. That's a good way to think about it, because we are consultants. So
Yeah.
a lot of times when people ask me what I do, I just tell them I'm a business consultant, because
There you
it's
go.
hard to explain the PEO concept to people because it encompasses so many areas of a business that it's kind of hard to explain. Like, we could say we're your back end office, we're your outsourced HR, we're your broker, we're your everything.
Yeah.
We're your technology partner, we're your business partner. I mean, we really are so many things. So we are general consultants, and we do go into a company and really evaluate every area because it ties into every area of the business.
Absolutely. I mean, and if you got these business owners, I'm a business owner, that we tend to get caught up in our day to day. It almost blinds us from taking a bird's eye view to being able to see those holes or voids that need to be filled or could be, established in a different manner that could save us money in a grand scheme of things. And what saving us money does is it allows us to give more to the employees in way of benefits and money and 401k, et cetera.
Right. So a lot of the savings that we provide companies, we're able to reallocate that savings to other key areas in the business, which investing in your employees definitely right now is key, being that it's a competitive market. It's hard to find top talent. So when you have somebody that's top talent, you want to keep them.
Yeah.
So a lot of times our strategies include reallocating some of those funds to different areas in the company, but also not only saving money, but preventing you from spending money in areas that you don't need to be spending money.
Right,
So-
right. Because most of the time, if you always do what you always done, you're always going to get what you always got,
Yes. Exactly.
Now, you mentioned something that I want to kind of hone in on, and it was Texas is a little different than most other states. And this is something that I say quite often, and I believe it to be true. One, because I'm a Texan through and through, and that being the case, when we talk about real estate on this show, real estate is always local. And on the media, a bigger soapbox, so to speak, they're always painting a broad brush on this picture and narrative to us with home ownership and in regards to home affordability, in regards to the employment rates and things of that nature, when Texas is a little different. But I want to hear from you in your situation, because you had alluded to it, that Texas is a little different, especially on the business owning side of things. Can you kind of go into that a little bit?
Of course. So one of the things that I commonly see in companies that are very established, I would say there's a difference. So startup companies are not as antiquated because you have like the millennials, you have the Gen Zs coming in that are already thinking outside the box. They're already thinking outsourcing. How
Sure.
can I do this faster, better, bigger? Whereas the more established conservative business owners are going to do what's called the multi-vendor setup or
Okay.
have multiple different systems, multiple different partners because as you build the business, you're kind of adding these layers to the business. And then next thing you know, you have all these different systems, all these layers, none of them communicate with each other. And it's hard for them to unwind that and unbundle that. So
Yeah.
in their minds. But it just takes Texans longer to make decisions.
Okay.
And a lot of the times, Texas business owners don't make their decisions based on financials. They make their business decisions based on relationship.
Ooh,
And so
I like
that's
that.
always what I've seen, not always, but majority of the cases, I see a lot of relationships that they don't want to tarnish or ruin. And it doesn't matter the financial gain. Obviously, there's a lot of very wealthy people in Texas.
Sure.
So, not necessarily can you come in there and show a cost savings and you think you're going to get the deal where you would be in another state and they would
Yeah.
jump all over it. So,
It's almost as if we hold value over, and I'm going to use the same word, value a little bit more. And what I mean by that is the value of the relationship
Yep.
more than the value of the dollar.
correct.
Wow, that's a
Definitely.
pretty strong observation.
Oh my gosh, we talk about it all the time in my industry. So that's one of the things that I see commonly in Texas. But overall, it's just kind of like fear of the unknown. So a lot of Texas business owners don't want to make changes because they're scared.
Yeah.
They don't want to make changes. They've been doing it like that for 30 years. I have companies that have been around for 50 years, 60 years, third generation companies, family owned businesses that, are progressing into different generations. However, the business itself has not progressed
Right.
internally. So they're just scared. It's, status quo. It's just, this is how we've done it forever. And so it's, I do a lot of educating when I meet with business owners and also on my social media pages. I try to educate people because that way they can really understand how it's going to impact their business.
Right.
And I try to give them like real world examples so that they can see, how it can really help
Yeah, absolutely.
versus hurt. And so if I get an owner that's a more progressive thinker or is open at least to suggestions,
Right.
we have we can potentially have a partnership. But if I see somebody that's just and I come into businesses that are like in distress, I mean, very complex cases. I deal with a lot of multi-location, multi-state deals. And then it just depends on each case. But if you can get an owner to really understand the concept and really see the value
Right.
along with the savings, right, then you have a good partner. Because not everybody's a good partner either. But I love my Texas business owners. I always say they're so challenging, but once I break through, I'm like,
Well, it will more than likely become a longer lasting relationship versus the ones that are quick to jump. That means that they're probably quick to
Yes.
jump and leave you eventually as well.
correct.
That makes good
Yeah.
sense. So going down this first rabbit hole of the idea of PEO and it's saving people, companies, business owners money. I was looking at an article earlier. JC, if you can throw a reference up real quick. I found this on, it looks like ADP. And it basically says PEO fees can differ, but they typically charge based on the number of employees you have and which services you're using. So be sure that you get a quote comparable for services. Industry experts estimate average PEO cost at between 2 to 12% of wages. When you think about your total cost of administrating, my goodness, HR yourself, however, including revenue loss from the time it takes away from your business, it can be worthwhile expenditure. A PEO can save your company up to 35% on HR costs compared to what you would be spending if you did not use a PEO company and outsourced your payroll and everything else. So get that out of there. That being the case, if you are working with folks from 50 to 100 employees, más o menos, and it's allowing that business owner and AKA company to save 35%, how is it not a no-brainer in many of those cases?
Yeah,
And you're like, duh.
You'd be surprised. It's funny because I think now business owners are getting a little bit more open-minded.
Okay.
And I have been having a lot more meetings recently with established companies where they actually have said it's a no-brainer.
Okay.
Like those words exactly. This is a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
So the savings is going to be in the pooling of the resources.
Right.
So think about, you're sharing a HR department with thousands of different companies.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to evaluate that cost versus hiring your own internal HR director and the salary per market, right?
Right.
What the going salary would be. So that's where that's what the article is talking about in regards to the savings on the HR side.
In addition, and that's a great comparison, is utilizing somebody that has the resources streamlined. They're working with multiple companies, so they get to see multiple different situations occur, outcomes, decisions that they make, and the outcomes of those decisions, as opposed to hiring one HR individual, two HR individuals having a HR department that is limited on their resources because it's just them. In addition, you've got the cost of benefits and all of that good stuff, plus their salary and everything else that comes along with it.
Correct.
So that being the case, wouldn't you think that the idea behind what we're facing in the United States as a whole, if we go to that platform, cost of living is increasing, the wages that we're seeing, those are increasing, but they're increasing due to inflation and companies raising their prices. So it's basically just a wash. It's in us, the consumer, we're still feeling the higher costs.
Definitely.
The employees, are they benefiting us? I mean, if nothing changed from my hand to his hand and what I'm supposed to receive for that good or service hasn't changed, then why am I paying more type concept? So it almost begs the question of why do we not look at, or why do companies not look at PEO as a solution to increasing their employment expenses, reducing their employment benefit expenses, things of that nature, to solve the issue of affordability, to solve the issue of having salaries raised without having to have the customer take the brunt of it?
Yeah, so I think that PEOs have been commonly overlooked when it comes to these topics and issues. However, more recently, with different I would say there's a lot more education on PEOs now, right? So people are becoming more aware.
Well, you, ma'am, you're all over the place.
Thanks to me. I'm just kidding. Thanks to all my hard work and
That's right.
making sure people understand what the
You're
PEO
welcome, PEO industry.
Really, because I have spent years, I spent 12 years educating the masses and thousands of people on PEO. And that's really what I've done for people to understand the concept. And I think now people are seeing, or business owners are seeing, that we play a crucial role in helping the economy. And we play a role that is going to be vital in moving forward. And if you think really about the concept of pooling and sharing resources, it's so important, because you could do that in so many different areas of the business, right? And other people are trying to use that concept for other things now.
Yeah, you're right.
But ultimately,
Even living.
right?
You're right.
Exactly. So the sharing of resources is now being used in other places. It's being thought about more. People are understanding the concept more. So now instead of being overlooked, I think people are really seeking to work with us where, people are booking time on my calendar now versus me having to go and try to book time on
That
their
makes
calendar.
sense. It's kind of a
So
shift, huh?
definitely.
An awakening
It only took
of the
12
mass.
years. I knew it was going to happen at
That's
some
right.
point.
That's right. You just keep on trucking.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So, but to your point about sharing the resources, so Engage PEO, we deliver HR in a different manner. So we actually assign an employment attorney to all clients.
Okay.
So they get a designated employment attorney that is well versed in all areas. And yes, they have multiple clients across the state. We also try to position a company that's headquartered obviously on the West Coast. We're going to position them with an employment attorney that's versed in employment law in California and the Washington and states like that. Same thing with the East Coast. We're going to position them with an attorney that's versed in New York law and compliance. So we deliver HR very differently than other PEOs where they just assign, first level, what we call level one HR certified, where we really take it a step further and not only have level one, but then you have your expert, which is the employment attorney.
Yeah.
And there's really no higher level than that. And to have an employment attorney on retainer at all times, that's very costly.
I was going to say, that's got to be pretty expensive.
Exactly. So it's definitely, I would say 35% or more savings that you're going to get on the HR side of things.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then we talk about the insurance side of things. An employee of a company that is doing it on their own versus an employee of a company that has partnered with a PEO company, I would imagine that their cost is lower than just your normal, I've got one relationship with this company that relationship now is with this insurance provider versus a conglomerate of them that you guys probably work with and have relationships with that employer can then leverage and give the benefits to their employees.
Absolutely. So, the pooling resources and how that works in regards to insurance is that we take all of the employees and all of the companies that are our partners that we co-employ, and we have what's called a master policy.
Okay.
So instead of a company going out on their own in the open market to go shop as a group of their size, let's say the company is 20 employees,
Okay.
then you're going to be able to get quotes at 20 employees where you come with us, you're now buying wholesale insurance. So you're getting already discounted rates, but you're also getting better benefits because as a larger group, we're putting you in place, we're putting you in front of all of these other carriers that we've already built relationships with for 15, 20 years. And we have a huge group. So we end up getting better plans and better rates, as well as just access to so many different insurance products. It's funny because we have pet insurance products and people will be like, so you have the pet insurance, right? And I'm like, yes. I know this.
What's funny is many are complaining about, I can't pay my bills, I can't eat, I can't get enough gas, etc. But do you happen to have pet insurance?
They'll insure their pets.
Exactly. It's totally believable. I get it. I've got 5 of them, so I understand.
Yeah. Well, I guess, costs for vets and those services are also increasing.
It's
So
true.
it's costing a lot of people money. So being able to really have a comprehensive benefits package that's not only going to cover them, their kids, their spouses, but also their fur babies.
Yep.
And, plan for retirement. We look at all aspects of the employee's life.
Right.
So that they can have not only live a healthy, productive lifestyle, but really look at overall financial wellness of the employee.
It makes sense.
So we take a proactive approach, but we also take a consultative approach with the employees as well, where I think a lot of broker agents don't take that approach because they don't really have any skin in the game.
Right.
Where we're a partner to them. So if something happens to them and it affects the business, it affects us as well. And so I think explaining that also, knowing that, hey, we have your best interest in mind because now we're partnered together and we actually are employing your employees together. So we want to make sure you do good so that we do good.
Yeah.
And so explaining that is like, we have skin in the game, your broker agent doesn't, and actually they get paid a different way versus the way that we get paid, we don't want your premiums to increase, right? We want to keep costs low for everybody
Right.
because it affects everybody on the master policy. If costs increase on one client, it could affect everybody in the pool. So we want to make sure we're mitigating claims, we're keeping everybody healthy, we're looking at all aspects
Yeah.
of how to keep the rates low. If the rates go up, which has happened recently to some PEOs, it affects everybody. And we call it, they blow up their policy
Yeah.
because they're not keeping their costs low. And then now nobody has affordable costs. So it just encompasses so many areas, but insurance is so important for retention of employees.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of the highest expense areas in your
It's true.
business. So why not evaluate it, and why not evaluate it through a PEO where we can actually get you the economies of scale, we could get you the buying power that you need as a small business, and get you the rates and the benefits that you wouldn't have any other way.
Otherwise, yeah.
Exactly. So
And speaking of cost, I know this is a strange analogy, but it almost reminds me of a Costco membership concept, you know?
I took the words out of my mouth.
It's as if, since you're joining this group, you now get the benefits that the higher level of employees, higher level of transactions, volume, assets, all of the things at that rate versus just coming out here and, hey, I'd like a policy. You're not going to get anywhere close to what you would have received had you been with a group or a PEO company that gets the benefits of everything.
Absolutely. So I used to use that analogy, like when I first started, that was like my most basic
Really?
analogy. Yeah, I used to
Yeah,
say
okay.
HEB versus Costco, right?
Mhm.
Everybody can understand that concept. Like everybody can go to HEB and buy milk, but to go into Costco, you're buying a membership
Yep.
and then you're getting everything wholesale because they're buying in quantity, they're buying in bulk.
That's right.
So that's the same concept, right? We're buying in bulk, we're buying for a larger quantity, a larger amount of employees, where sometimes, you wouldn't even be looked at,
Mhm.
period, as a small group or a small business owner. They wouldn't even consider you.
It's true. Matter of fact, I would imagine that there are certain insurance products that are not even allotted to individuals or groups that are not
Small
beyond a certain point. Yeah. So you get to,
You don't have access to
you
it.
don't have access. You don't even know. I mean, you only know what you know until you join a PEO company.
Right. Yeah, but I love that analogy because it kind of simplifies the concept, and it helps people understand what it is that we do as far as the insurance
Yeah.
aspect of it.
That makes sense. Well, I think that's a great understanding of what PEO does, how folks can benefit from the services of PEO or joining a PEO group. I'd like to shift a bit into what's happening today with our economy, with our home affordability, employee unemployment rate, things of that nature, to
Absolutely.
kind of take a bird's eye view of what the heck is going on and what you're seeing, because you get to see so much of it. And the first thing on the docket is essentially the unemployment rate. We're seeing a low unemployment rate happen right now. And you and I had talked about this before we started this, but what I'm seeing, and I don't think it's a Texas thing, it's more of a national issue versus a Texas issue, but I'm seeing more part-time gigs coming available versus your full-time. And it's simply because what we went through during the pandemic, many have streamlined their processes. Many have implemented technologies. For example, you go to Walmart, you go to any of these stores, there's probably 15 employees as opposed to the 100 that used to be there.
Yep.
Everybody's willing to help. Every register was full and ready to help you. Whereas even McDonald's, you're just talking to a machine. I mean, you're picking your options, you're going through the scanner, et cetera. And I'm not going to say the experience is any worse or anything like that, but I don't see this trend going backwards. Just like buying the iPhone, we never go, hey, give me that 2-year-old model of the iPhone. It's always the next best thing that we want as consumers. So that being the case, what are you seeing in regards to, and you may not be seeing a difference because you're focused in Texas, but what are you seeing with the unemployment and how tough it is for employers to capture new employees?
Yeah, so you just said
The
a lot of things
mouthful.
here.
I'm so sorry. We can chop it up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to chop that up a little bit because there's so many critical pieces in there that you said that are
Yeah.
really, really important. So yes, after COVID, we did see an uptake in what they call the gig economy.
Okay.
So the gig economy is producing a lot of these little small part-time jobs like the Uber Eats,
Yeah.
the Grubhub,
You're
whatever,
right.
the Favor, all those type that we call that the gig economy. So there was definitely an uptake in that. There was an uptake in part-time employees, but I personally don't see that just because of the industries that I deal with.
Sure.
That's not like a big thing for me. I have seen where companies are trying to hire part-time because they want to avoid paying employee benefits.
There you go.
But at the end of the day, you will get audited. And if you truly don't have part-timers and you're coding them that way, there's a lot of compliance
For sure.
around that. And I think employers are getting scared of that. So I personally am not seeing a lot of the part-time, but the unemployment rate now that we're kind of out of the COVID, I'm seeing it lowering because employers are hiring and employers are wanting everybody to come back to the office.
Yeah.
Most of my clients are coming back to the office. They are hiring. They are in growth mode. They're hiring. They're recruiting, actively recruiting. That's like the number one topic right now. Like, what are you doing to recruit? How are you recruiting? What can you help us with? How can you help us with, hiring and recruiting? That's probably number one topic in my meetings
Okay.
with existing clients.
Attracting new talent.
Attracting employees and attracting the right kind of employees because they don't want the turnover, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants a turnover. It's expensive. So you want to hire the right person.
Right.
So having strategies around that. So that's definitely a topic. Unemployment, I feel like, has lowered. But that's also because there's a lot less employees to hire, I feel.
Okay.
So there's more jobs and less candidates to
Yeah.
fill those positions. But then I think like the part-time jobs that you mentioned, people are having to work multiple part-time jobs. So whether they're working part-time or full-time, the part-timers are working multiple part-time
You're exactly
jobs.
correct.
So we're seeing that, but specifically just overall, I think things are getting better as far as the employment market is. And people are hiring. I everywhere I look, all of my clients are in growth mode and they are all hiring. And they're just wanting to hire the right people.
Yeah.
And so that's the key, right? How do I hire the right people? Do I have the right benefits? What is it that I'm doing wrong? And so we are fine-tuning strategies on how to recruit and how to hire. So we help companies all the way from hiring best practices, how to interview. We also have a fully integrated applicant tracking system, which helps you post on all the job boards. So now going to your other topic that you mentioned was with technology.
Yeah.
And how to utilize the technology, the best way possible.
Sure.
So in the HRIS platform that we offer, which is the technology platform, we have an applicant tracking software that allows the employer to post on all the job boards instead of having to post on one and then another one, then another one, and then social media. We actually allow them to post on all social media platforms, all the job boards, and everything funnels on one platform.
Very cool.
So it's super cool.
I mean, that in itself saves somebody their sanity in keeping track of all the different applications that are coming through, which platform they came through. Are there duplicates? Just so many different
things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So most recently, the acronym is the SAS acronym.
Okay.
What is it called? Software as a Solution.
Okay. I like that.
So more Texas business owners and overall, they are using the SAS method, which is software as a solution. And obviously we can keep going into how that is helping businesses in so many different ways.
Sure.
But using software as a solution is really helping companies. So for those that are not tech savvy or don't explore into the tech world, more people are looking at technology solutions.
Absolutely.
And that is so important. That's going to be key. If you're close to technology solutions, you're not going to grow. You're not going to scale your business. Technology is key. You have to have the technology to be able to grow and scale the business. And you have to have something that's replicatable that you can replicate if you're going to grow the business.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the idea of technology, I like that. The idea of technology is one thing, but then it's the implementation of said technology, using it the right way. So you're not just jumping on board to the newest technology and it really doesn't apply to your business, but it was cool at the time and you thought you could save money, et cetera. But I want to get back to the technology thing here in just a sec, because you mentioned something that I don't want to forget to go over, which is back to the office. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you made it kind of a strong point in that. And I'd like to pick your brain on that. I watch PBD podcast. I watch other podcast, business, entrepreneurial shows that are heavily discussing the idea of back to work. Since the pandemic, there are plenty of opportunities for businesses to figure out a way to continue to run while, or I should say, run and sustain while during that pandemic and folks working from home. Did it work? Absolutely. Plenty of businesses made it through. But what we're seeing is the rest of the world, not the United States, the rest of the world has already adopted getting back to the office concept, going back to work inside the office, recreating the culture that they once had, having that human interaction, et cetera. And for some odd reason, the United States is behind the curveball on that, and still struggling with the idea of getting people back to the office. Oh, they can still get their job done at home. We'll just let that continue. Whereas I've got another mindset of folks that believe, get them back to work because I'm done sustaining. It's time to thrive. And we need human interaction in this, and think tanks. And the idea of being on a screen is limiting you in what could potentially occur had you been in the office. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah. So I guess it depends what industry we're talking about, but most of my clients are really doing the back to the office concept. And if they're not, they're doing the hybrid schedule.
Okay.
So they'll do like 2 days home, 3 days in the office, or they'll kind of mix it up.
Right.
But I don't have many that are just doing fully remote. And the ones that are doing fully remote, it's because they found some very good talent somewhere,
Yeah.
and they're not going to let them go because either they're moving out of state, or because that employee is so vital to their company that
Makes
they
sense.
will they will accommodate them and let them work remotely. But most of my clients are returning to the office.
Now, that being the case, being your observation, what are some reasons as to why maybe they have said to you that this is what they're doing, or maybe just what you believe based on what you're seeing as to why they're doing that?
I would say the top 2 reasons are productivity. They're not seeing their employees being as productive as they are in the office.
Right.
And I mean, I just did a video on time theft. How much time theft is going on in working remotely?
Damn time thieves.
It's time they are. It really is true. Nobody's as productive as, certain employees working from home, and some employees are not that way, right? So
Correct.
there's productivity is not as high as it should be. And that's really one of the main reasons. But I would say the second reason would be culture. Like, how are you developing the culture of your company when you're not even seeing your employees? You're not interacting with them. You're not building team. There's no teamwork. There's no, team building involved. So that's a big part of helping a business thrive, is the culture of the company, right?
Yeah.
And really having almost like a family. I work with a lot of family-owned businesses, and they consider their employees family. So they want them back at home in their little office, right?
And from experience, me personally going through that, I will say it is difficult to get the employees back to the office now that they've already dispersed from the location, so to speak. Let's say one employee now lives this far away from the office versus what they used to live, because we went so long it working. I will admit, we're missing a piece of that camaraderie, that sense of culture being in the office. Even though I'm in the mortgage industry, can we do what we do from home? Absolutely. It's mostly on a computer or on a phone. But the idea of the competitive spirit, the learning, the think tanks, the brainstorming sessions that we do, the cutting up, the joking, all of those things, being able to just go to lunch together and have a good conversation. It's true. It's so different. Yeah,
When we used to be at the office, I mean, different things would take place. Yeah, work is so different now.
it is
But
true.
I would say those are the top two things. And if you look at the statistics, like major companies, Google, Amazon, they are returning
That's
to
right.
work.
That's
Like,
right.
and I have friends that work at some major companies that they have moved away,
Mhm.
and they have literally given them so much time to move back into the area.
Gotcha.
So if you have a good employment attorney to change your remote policy,
Yes.
you can mandate your employees to go back to work.
That makes
So
great sense. And that is something that folks probably don't know and are fearful of even crossing that line to go, well, I don't want to lose employees. That's not what the intent of this is. It's really to make everybody better, to create that cohesive environment to increase production and revenue and things of that nature, while also increasing the morale within the individuals in the family, so to speak. You know?
well, and back to the time thing, like I have a lot of requests for the time and attendance technology that we offer, because it actually GPS tracks the employee. They can actually pinpoint exactly where the employee is sitting,
Mhm.
or they can IP protect like their home computer to make sure they're only logging in, how long they're logging in for, if they've logged off, or if they've moved from the area, it would
Right.
clock them out. So there's a lot of technology that can be implemented. But again, right, using the software as a solution.
True.
If you are going to still do the remote thing, what measures are you going to put in place to make sure that your employees are being productive?
I like that. I really like that. And it is something that can be parlayed into the idea of this um, increase in inflation, increase in pay for employees. And more times than not, we're talking about the minimum wage when we talk about that. I know that you manage or you work with some restaurants. That being the case, we're seeing tons and tons of corporate profits, record profits that are taking place, and it's being blamed on inflation. Well, if there's so much inflation, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I just look at the data. If we're having so much inflation, how is it that you're still turning record profits? And it kind of begs the question of, is this all a facade of the real thing that's going on? Because based on what you're telling me, unemployment, it's low. We've got plenty of people out there. Are they the right people for the right jobs, et cetera? We don't know. That we leave that to the individuals. But on a mass scale, there's plenty of opportunity out there,
Absolutely. Yes.
right?
Yes.
That being the case, why are we seeing so much? And I can't ask that broad of a question. With so much greed at the top, it's
Gosh,
a
that's
tough one.
hard.
It's a tough one. I won't even go down that road.
Answer
Yeah, no. I wouldn't even go down that road. More so, the idea of PEO and what we are seeing from an inflationary standpoint. Do you see that as a wise solution? Obviously, it can't fix the masses. And even if it was deployed throughout all companies, that way it turns into the even bigger conglomerate and wholesale effect that you have
Yep.
going on. Would it even trickle down?
To the employee, to the consumer, to
Both.
I think so.
Let's call it both.
Absolutely. It also depends. I mean, there's a lot of factors that play into that. It depends on what type of business owner you have. I have business owners that feel very, they feel like they want to help the employee.
Right.
They're very employee friendly. They think of ways to help them. I mean, I have some that even take them to seminars, leadership courses. They really invest in their employees. Where I have some owners that are like, I could care less.
Sure.
I really am about profit,
Yeah.
right? So it just depends how you want to run your business.
Mhm.
But ultimately, yeah, it would go down to the consumer and it would go down to the employee. Should you want to share in those funds with them?
Right.
When we present savings to a company, some of the savings is employee savings. And we tell them your employees are also saving money on their check because now they're paying less for their benefits, they're paying less for certain things. And so they also see an increase in wages.
Right.
And some love that. Some are like, no, I want the profit for myself. We work for our clients, so it's really up to them. We give them a flexible solution and a flexible option, which is one of the reasons I love Engage, because we cater to the owner. We put together a custom solution and we give them options. It's still really up to them, right? We don't take control of their business. We give them options and solutions, and then we let them pick and choose what they think is going to work best. Should they want to pass down the savings? They absolutely can. Do all of them do that? No.
It's true.
They
Yeah.
don't. But, we present it in a way where eventually, if they don't do that, it's going to end up hurting them
Mhm.
because the employees are really the heart of your company
It's
and
true.
they're the people that drive your business.
That's right.
So if you're doing the right thing
Mhm.
and you're passing those savings down, then you're going to do the right thing. And, I always believe in karma and, doing the right thing. So, but not everybody does that, Mark.
And I think that what you're basically saying is it is their choice to be able to pass that down
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
But that choice can have negative effects simply because if you don't, someone else is going to pass it down, and that employee is not dumb. They're going to figure it out and maybe jump ship to somebody that is passing it down.
And I always live by the motto, like givers gain, so it's better to be more competitive, help your employees, treat your employees right, because at the end of the day, your employees will be loyal by you
Yeah.
and they'll stay with you and they'll help the company grow. Therefore, it's going to lower the turnover in your company. Therefore, it's going to lower cost overall in your company. You'll have a stronger company. You'll have a better culture. I mean, it just then transcends into like all the other topics that we've talked about. So, I mean, do right by your employees, people.
I like that. I like that. And a matter of fact, I like the word that you just used, which is transcend.
Yeah.
I'd like to transcend and transition into the concept of home affordability and the idea of PEO companies having so many resources, so much access to help folks save and from the top down, employer, owner, all the way down. Have you guys considered, or are you already considering or employing, utilizing some type of affinity group for home buying in what you guys do as a group?
No,
Home buying
actually,
classes, education pieces, getting with a preferred lender that can look and give maybe potential discounts for your group in particular, because I know that a hot topic right now for the past, 2 years has been affordability
Mhm.
in home owning. And I don't see values going backwards.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we have relationships with homeowner insurance carriers,
Sure.
right? So we have like a program where the employee can have a discount on their homeowner's insurance and personal auto and personal lines, things like that. But I've never seen a partnership with a mortgage or educational piece on the mortgage side. The only time I see that is if like they're helping an employee relocate
Mhm.
for a job,
Sure.
then yes, they'll put a lot of resources and involve a realtor, mortgage company, and get the employee relocated for the job. But other than that, no. That's interesting, Mark.
Huh. So do you
That's
guys have
very interesting. We have a new concept here. PEO pooling resources with mortgage companies.
You never know. I mean, the idea behind what you guys' whole premise is and the value that you provide is we've got it all. We're a one-stop shop for everything that you're going to need. I mean, there's no doubt that you're going to need HR, you're going to need payroll, you're going to need insurance. And if you use us, you're going to save money. Why? Because it's not just me, it's my army of people that, because we have an army, get discounts in bulk. How? Kind of like Costco.
Mhm. Yes.
So when I saw that Costco was offering mortgages, I believe so. I think so. I'm not certain on that. Matter of fact, JC,
Gosh.
let's go reference real quick.
Fact check
Let's just
that,
fact check that
please.
before I
I'm like,
does
wow, you can get everything at Costco.
offer mortgage loans. Let's see. Better mortgage.
Costco.
Costco mortgage program review.
Oh, this Costco's
Oh,
still.
it's no longer available.
See,
Womp, womp, womp. So they failed because they probably didn't partner with a solid mortgage company. Just
Right.
gonna throw that out there. No,
Absolutely. They didn't have the right partner.
right. But the idea of savings all the way around, everything within your conglomerate revolves around the end user of the employee
Mhm.
and saving them money, helping their lives get
Absolutely.
better. That start with giving those discounts or the opportunity to provide discounts to the owner or company. I wonder, just one of those things. I wonder if any PEO company is offering that as a service in
Yeah,
general.
I've never heard of it, but the beauty of working at Engage is, our owner is, just do what's right for the client. So I'm an overall consultant. So when clients work with me, they're not only going to get obviously all the PEO resources and things that I help with, but I mean, I have a lot of good relationships that I've established and built. So they come to me really for everything. So
Yeah.
they told me like, hey, like I really want to educate my employees on this. I mean, I would put it together for them.
Makes sense.
Very simple. But I have the ability to do that. I have the autonomy to do that, right? Where a lot of companies that are publicly traded would not.
Yeah.
Because once you're publicly traded, then at that point they would probably assign who the mortgage company would be that they
True.
work with. And I'm sure there's probably some big relationships like that. But I mean, clients come to me for banking references or they need references for certain things that I'm like, oh yeah, I know somebody that does that.
Yeah.
So I just connected one of my clients to my corporate attorney. That's amazing. That's here in San Antonio. And they just thanked me this morning. They're like, he's so good. I'm like,
Shout him out. Go ahead.
Joseph Casas.
There you go.
He's so awesome. He's the best corporate attorney. Because I'm biased. I used him, but a lot of my clients using him right now. And he's just so good, right? So it's like, and they're thanking me like, thank you, because we had consulted with other attorneys that wanted to charge as much and they didn't give us the advice that he gave us. And so, it's really, again, being an overall general consultant to your client. I think that's a reason why my clients stay with me so long, because they're kind of like, well, if I don't know, I could call Blanca. She probably knows.
Yeah, no, you're right. And actually, I find myself in that situation as well, not from an insurance, just as a resource or a plug for other businesses, other trades. And it is a good feeling to be able to provide somebody that is going to do a good job. That being the case.
Yeah, I think that's important. Like, because they know that I wouldn't refer anybody that wouldn't do a good job by them. And anybody in my network is going to make sure that they're going to do a good job or they're not going to be in my network.
That's right.
So I think that also has to do with like the trust factor and that they know that we're only going to work with reputable partners. So.
And that feeling that you get, I'm sure same feeling that I get when I refer someone to someone else, is a great feeling because you know that the person you referred them to is going to benefit from it and get to showcase their talents. And the person that was referred is going to get a great deal, is going to get great service, et cetera, et cetera. And it kind of goes to the point of, why do people not ask for more referrals from customers in any business? It's like this weird thing that people think it's an intrusion to say, hey, is there anybody else that I can help just like you, the way that I've helped you? I can imagine that you do that quite often.
Yeah. So I, every year when I do my business plan, I look at the sources of my clients, or my new clients, at least for the past 12 months. And right now I'm kind of like 50% is referrals and the other part is social media. So my social media platforms have done really well and that has helped. But I'm with my clients a lot. Like I spend a lot of time with my clients. So during those interactions, it just kind of like comes out. Like they're like, oh, I had this conversation, or this person told me they needed help with HR. And then it kind of comes out. It's not like me like, hey, like, do you know anybody that I can help? Like
It's a
they
part
just
of you. Yeah,
tell me like,
but that's something that is not innate naturally. It's something that you, going through your levels, so to speak, have gained as a trait that you will always continue moving forward to go, you know what? I am the plug for that resource.
Definitely.
And I'm not going to not ask for referrals because I know what I do is beneficial to whoever it is that I'm ending up being referred to or being referred from.
Yeah, so I recently got published in Bernie magazine, and that was kind of like,
Oh,
hey,
hey. That's awesome.
that was kind of like the whole point of the article was the expertise factor. Like I work so hard to be the expert at PEO. I work so hard to make sure like I know what I'm doing. I'm very methodical. I'm detailed. I'm the follow-up queen. I don't I don't drop
That's
the
right.
ball. They know that I'm going to really be there for them, be their partner. And by having that title and being that expert, then yes, people feel comfortable referring somebody to you. Or even if I were to ask for an introduction to somebody, they'd be like, absolutely, I'll
Yeah.
introduce you. It's not like, oh, I don't know, let me think about it, So it takes years of being in an industry. There's a lot of people that are like industry jumpers, or they're always constantly switching
It's true.
jobs or careers. So you're just kind of like, oh, I'm not really going to refer somebody to this person. I don't even know they're going to last there more than a year, right? So
Yeah.
it's consistency. Everybody talks about consistency. I think if you're consistently work really hard at one thing and you become that expert and you have more than 10 years experience, then people want to refer people to you because you're the source of knowledge. Like somebody commented on one of my videos yesterday, and they're like, you're always putting out that knowledge or something like that.
Dropping them
Yeah, they're
bombs,
like, you're
knowledge
always dropping
bombs.
that
Yeah.
knowledge. I'm like, yes.
Yes, I
That's
am.
right.
That's awesome. Well, Blanca, I mean, it's been, I think, a little over 2 years since I've had you in the studio.
Yeah.
The studio has changed tremendously.
Yes.
Upgraded everything. And I know that you're not in the mortgage space or real estate space, but there's always a lot of real estate that we talk about on this show. So for this last little segment, I just want to get your take from an outsider's perspective on what you're seeing in the market. You're not in the business, so it's totally an outsider's perspective. I know you're a homeowner. What are you seeing when it comes to home affordability and the importance of someone to own a home versus not? Because I know you've not owned a home and owned a home,
Yeah. Well, I try never to not own a home. I'm not in a, I don't like apartments, but so there's a lot of things going on. So obviously, because I work with businesses and companies, I always get asked about commercial space,
Sure.
right? So I happen to have a couple clients that deal with commercial development and commercial real estate. So again, givers gain. So
Yeah.
I'm always trying to connect my clients with each other if they're looking for a new leasing space or wanting to move into a new market. Which happens oftenly. Like El Paso people want to move here. So, hey, I want to get an office space somewhere. Or I have a lot of people right now moving to Austin, wanting to grow into Austin. So I kind of connect people that way. As far as the home ownership part of it, obviously we all talk about it, right? Because we're homeowners and it affects everybody. And I have seen that people that have considered selling or buying have decided to kind of wait. So even though it's like was in the talks or they thought about it, like, oh no, I decided to wait just to see, what's gonna happen to rates. Hopefully, I really hope there's gonna be a decrease in rates and we have an election coming up.
Yeah.
So I think a lot's gonna happen during or after the election. It's really gonna be able to tell or us what's gonna happen.
Right.
I don't think anybody knows what's gonna happen.
I agree with you.
But goodness, I think we're all wanting the rates to go down because that really would help the economy, would help the inflation, would help everybody
Everything.
overall. But I have seen a lot of momentum kind of hold steady on the residential side. On the commercial side, I'm still seeing a lot of movement.
Right.
Whether they're downsizing and leasing space or growing, there's still a lot of movement there, right? So, and if you look around, like commercial development is booming.
It
Like
is. It
San
really is.
Antonio, Austin area, all the way from, San Antonio to Austin on 35. Commercial development is everywhere. It is not stopping. Like,
Correct.
so maybe you need to switch.
Well, I mean, when I think
Mark.
commercial, no way. That's another world over there. Matter of fact, I would eventually love to own commercial space and
There you
pay
go.
myself rent,
And be
etc.
there you go. Now
So,
we're thinking. Yes.
But what commercial space to me is a leading indicator of what is to come. If you've got companies that are moving
That's a good
here,
point.
if you've
Yeah.
got companies that are building, and maybe they are pushing their employees to work from home and converting their space to more warehouse space or converting their space to something else, they're still, like you said, moving. They're still making stuff happen. There's still deals going on,
Oh yeah.
which tells me that there's more people coming here that aren't here yet.
So, I mean, if you think about it again, we're in the great state of Texas.
Amen.
The Texas economy is doing well in general, overall, right? Texas economy is doing well. People are moving to Texas.
That's right.
I just did a video on the Texas landscape and why it's easier to own and operate a business in Texas. We also don't have the state tax. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to moving to Texas. Cost of living is lower. Affordability of real estate is lower. The residential properties, when people see the houses and, what their cost is versus somewhere else, and they're like, wow, this is a no-brainer. Here we go again with the no-brainer.
Right.
So yeah, I think right now we're in a cycle.
Okay.
Is really what I think. I had a conversation with a client yesterday and I said, you know what? I think right now we're in a cycle. Honestly, summertime is slow for me too. It's a cycle, but I think mortgages, right? It's the cycle is reversed.
It's the opposite. Yeah, it's the opposite.
You guys are actually busy during this time and then
Correct.
slower during the holidays where mine flips.
Mhm.
But I think we're in a cycle. We're in the kind of the valley and there's going to be an upturn. I really do, because look at all, like you said, the commercial development is happening. So people are going to have to move.
Right.
There's going to be jobs that are going to be created. That job creation is going to create people moving into the area, residential mortgages. So I think right now we are in a cycle and I think we're going to see a change. I pray we see a change.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, amen to that. But let's just all be positive.
Yes. Make sure to vote.
Right. Everybody be positive. And that's kind of, again, the conversation I had with my client was like, hey, look, we're in a cycle. Right now it's the downturn.
Mhm.
We got to stay positive.
It's true.
We
It is
gotta
true.
stay
Optimism, it will win for
Yes.
2024, 2025, and 2026 moving forward.
Stay positive, and it's the upturn. If you do the work and you're consistent, you're going to see the return.
That's a great message right there.
So
Blanca,
try
is
to
there
be
anything that we missed within this discussion? I've gone through all of what I wanted to get out of you today. And that was actually a pretty enlightening discussion. We parlayed the PEO concept and how you save companies money, how you essentially got into the business, built relationships, and are now shifting more towards a social media / relationship based business. And overall, PEO can help plenty of companies. Matter of fact, at least 35% in their HR department
At least.
individually, that could trickle down to potential savings for the actual consumers, which in my world, consumers are home buyers. And I don't care when, it's a matter of how you get into the homes on my side of the tracks. Is there anything that we missed there?
No, I mean, I think that if we continue to have these type of conversations and really start brainstorming together, being more open-minded, being more progressively thinking forward,
Right.
I think that we're headed in the right path. I think that if we can really start using software as a solution, SaaS and technology and just being more innovative and having these conversations with your friends, family, I think we're headed in the right direction. But everybody has to come together, right? Instead of being so divided, we really should come together and use our resources that
It's
we
true.
have. So.
Yeah. Well, Blanca, I mean, like I said, I don't have anything else. Is there anything else that you want to add? We're good to go.
Thank you, Mark, so much
Of
for having
course,
me.
of
It's always
course.
a pleasure. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Guys, gals, you guys out there listening, I'm hoping that you got something out of today's discussion. It was a little change of pace from what we normally do, and that's good, especially seeing it from different perspectives. if we constantly have realtors or lenders on this podcast, it's going to feel a little monotonous. And I do not want to get stuck in that. I want to continue to provide you guys with content from different perspectives, different angles, and all from experts. Blanca Abu, the expert PEO lady.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, Blanca.
Yes.
Guys, we will catch you on the next one.